Good evening, you lovely people. Thank you so much for being here. I was a couple of seconds late then, wasn't I? Look, it's completely blowing me away. Just watching all of your amazing comments just sort of coming past while you're waiting. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to another photography lockdown. I'm so excited that you get something out of this. I'm also suspecting that you all hate me because you gave me so much work with Mug's game. Oh boy, it's kind of like, I thought, let's do this one. Let's make it really level the playing field so everybody's kind of working with the same ingredients and see what happens. And you've blown me away with what you have come up with. There are so many of your images that I want to talk about, and I've got quite a few this week. But I can't possibly talk about all of them, and that is a shame because I would love to. But I mean, if I spoke about even half the entries that we've had in the last week, it would take a full day. Really, you guys are rocking it. And I think the exciting thing that I'm seeing from your conversations, I think we're all seeing from the conversations that are going on, is that how much you can learn in your own home. And look, trust me, if you can do things with a few mugs on a table, and you can learn how to use shutters and apertures and ISOs and focal lengths and depth of fields and all that good stuff, you imagine what you can do when we come out of lockdown and you can go somewhere that really excites and inspires you. Think on that one. Yeah, so completely blown away by that. I saw quite a lot of comments as well. I had a few requests this week from people saying, oh, can you give me some feedback? And if I send you an email, can you give me some feedback? I'm really sorry, guys. There are just so many requests that I get for that. There's no way I can do it for one person unless I do it for everybody. And if I did it for everybody, I wouldn't get anything done. Now, something which is in the pipeline, that is Clickersnap, our Tom at Clickersnap. He is setting up something like this. You maybe saw a little video I posted saying, what do you want out of a photo sharing platform? I wasn't actually talking about the lockdown group. I just wanted to know, what do you want out of a big photo sharing online platform? The number one thing everyone asked for was feedback. So Tom is looking into that. There is a link below this live stream if you want to go and check that out. There are various photographers of different levels. There's only a handful there at the moment. We will be getting more on board. Something to bear in mind though, please, is that if you want feedback from a professional photographer, bear in mind that a professional photographer has a rate which they charge. So don't be offended, don't be shocked. It's just that we've got business overheads that have to be paid, and if we're looking at photos and giving feedback, we're not doing that. So it's just something to bear in mind there, so please don't be offended. But there's a few guys there doing it for quite a lot less. I'm going to be changing my rates. I've had an idea, but I need to flesh it out with Tom first. What else did I want to talk to you about? Yes, lots of questions about, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do that? So what I'm going to say to everybody is have a little more confidence in your choices, because that is your choice. It is your creativity. There was lots of messages. Am I allowed to use, I haven't got an 18 to 55. Can I use a 24 to 70? Well, if you're on a full frame camera, it's the same thing. Or someone says, I've only got an 18 to 200. Really, guys, it really doesn't matter. I'm just sort of saying, come on, let's try and level the playing field. You can self-regulate. You're grown-ups. You know how to get dressed in the morning. But in photography in general as well, have a little bit more confidence in your creative choices. Don't worry too much about getting it wrong, because there is no wrong. And when things don't go the way you expect them to, that is just pure gold. It's when things don't go how we want them to, that's where we learn new things. Provided we don't just go off in a huff and go, it didn't work, I'm not doing this again. Throw our toys out the pram. Stop, look at it, ask yourself, why didn't it work? What don't I like about this? What did I expect from it? What could I do to fulfill that expectation of my own? This is where we learn. So have a little bit more confidence in your choices, your creative choices, your interpretations, your ways of going about things. I'm pretty slack with rules and things. I'm sure most of you know me already. So just go with whatever you think will work, because at the end of the day, you don't take a picture, you make it. And we have seen that this week. The incredible creativity and work that people have been putting into things, it just absolutely rocks me to the core. So anyway, in a moment we will just go straight into the discussion, because I've got quite a lot of pictures I'd just like to discuss with you. Maybe give you a bit of feedback, hopefully give you a bit of help. There's a few that I just want to give you a shout out and just say, I love this, I'm sorry you didn't win, but you know, that's the way it is, there can only be one. And then we'll go into the runners-up and the winner. You're stuck with just me this week. We have no guest judge. It is just me. We may have a guest at another time. Sorry, forgive me. I am faffing around on my other laptop just to make sure everything here is working, because I have to have the volume on the other one switched off. Yeah, no messages from Emma, so it looks like everything's groovy. Okay. The other thing I just wanted to mention was quite a few folks have been saying that, you know, are we allowed to do image manipulation? Is Photoshop allowed? Is, you know, post-production cheating, etc.? Well, look, check out this guy, Fan Ho, an amazing photographer. Phil Tranter did a little nod to his work last week in the Shadows competition. Here's Fan Ho's image. He was just an amazing photographer. I just love this man's work. I think it is absolutely beautiful, stunning and amazing. But here's the thing, all the way back in the 50s, Fan Ho was doing image manipulation. You know, it has been around forever. It isn't cheating, it isn't wrong, it's not that you're not allowed to do it or anything like that. I don't know whether this is a multiple exposure on one piece of film, or whether this is, you know, a multiple exposure under the enlarger. But there's obviously several images been combined there, as there has with this one here. But look at the work that's gone into that. And when I say work, I mean the work in the head. You see the person down the bottom of that shot where the two bright lights are crossing. So this is Fan Ho pre-visualizing. He's seeing this and thinking, okay, how can we use this? You know what? If I do a print this way and another print that way, so they're kind of one like that, half the exposure that way, half the exposure that way, we're going to end up with a cross right where this person is. That's creativity. That is what creativity is. And you can make some very, very powerful images. And I'm just showing you these because I want you to know and realize that there is nothing wrong with composite images, with creating things. It has happened forever. My all-time hero photographer, this man, Mr. Sebastião Salgado, he was an absolute master of image manipulation, of post-production techniques. Sure, he did it in a darkroom or in his print room. But he was a master of using bleaches and pigments and brushes and dyes and all sorts of other cool stuff to make shots work. Had the privilege last year of seeing his Exodus exhibition, and I'd strongly urge you to go and see any of his exhibitions, but we were running the masterclass out in Zurich, by, you know, Salgado's Exodus exhibition was on and everybody said, yeah, let's go and have a look, this is a great opportunity. It's just goosebumps on the back of your neck. But when you look at this image, I can't say for sure, I don't know, but I bet you there's a bit of post-production going on here. A little bit of swabbing, a bit of cotton wool and some mild bleach to help enhance that mistiness at the back of the mountains there, and possibly the rain that's coming from that dark cloud. It has always gone on to bring about an emotion, a thought, a feeling, the reality of what we saw when we were there, because cameras capture things differently to eyes and also to minds and hearts and minds, because we are all affected differently by different images. There'd be an image you think, I can't stand that, why would anyone do it? And someone else is going, I love it, I want a print, I want it on the wall. It is purely whether or not it has an emotional connection to us. One last one of Salgado's, I think I saw a documentary of him in printing this many years ago. You know, look at the shot, think about how it was taken. That was taken on a really wide angle lens, wasn't it? If it was taken on a wide lens, that means the camera had to be tilted back, had to be tilted up. So the camera would have had to have been tilted to look up at the ship. Well, that's going to make everything seriously go ooh, out like that. You're going to get massive, sorry, not that way, convergence. I seem to remember watching Salgado in this documentary printing this, using a small aperture on the enlarger, so there was lots of depth of field, and then lifting the bottom of the baseboard. So here's the baseboard and the light's coming here, and then lifting one end of the baseboard up like that to counteract the convergence. How clever is that? But it's still post-production. Photo composites, if you want to enter them into the competition, great, do it. Get feedback on them. Go for it. All I would say is, if you want to enter something photoshopped and you're hoping to win, it needs to be done really, really well, and it needs to have a photographic feel to it. This image is called Leap of Faith by an incredible photographer and Photoshop artist called Renee Robin. I first encountered her work when 500px wrote something about wrote a lovely thing about one of my YouTube videos, and they put this photo with it, and I just said thank you. Anyway, I've since been on one of her workshops. Very, very, very clever lady. But if you're going to do manipulation in the computer, it needs to look like it shouldn't look as though it's had something done. It kind of needs to flow. It needs to blend together seamlessly. Otherwise what happens is suddenly we hit a roadblock. Your viewers will hit a roadblock because they will go screech to a halt. That looks like it's been fiddled with. And that's the last thing you want. You want them to lose themselves in the image, into the picture. You don't want them to stop and start going, oh, it looks like it's been fiddled with. Nice idea though. But by all means, post what you want. I'm not the Facebook police. So let's start having a look at some of our images. Forgive me, I need to quickly go onto the laptop here and go and pick things up, because regulars will know my glasses aren't good enough. I often can't read your names when I'm looking on the thing here. Here we go. Right. So the first one, speaking of image manipulation, these are our just discussion and shout out. So shout out here really to Mikey Den Houting, because you put a huge amount of work into this. Looking at those cups, how was this? Think about how this was done, guys. Those of you who are looking at it and going, photoshopped, pause, take a breather. Look at the pictures and think, how was this done? If you look at those cups, the lighting is perfect and identical on each one. Nothing was changed. Look at the highlights on the handles of the cups. Look at the gentle shading on the left-hand side of the cups. That means everything was identical. Look at the angle that they're shot from. They are all shot from directly above. You haven't got like one coming from slightly over here and another from slightly there, and one's a bit forward and you can see a bit down the side of the cup of another one. They are done perfectly. That would suggest to me that Mikey had possibly a mark on a top wherever the cups were to ensure that the cups went in exactly the same place every single time. The camera must have been mounted on a tripod or something, and the light must have been set up and static. Whether it was, I don't think this was done with a window. It might have been, don't know, but you'd have had to have worked fast, because window light changes over time. You'd suddenly find the shadows are starting to go in a different direction. But what I want you to get is there was a lot of work went into this. Now, I'm giving it lots of praise and shout out here. Why isn't it in the runners up or something like that? Purely because of actually what I said earlier. To me, this is a beautifully done piece of work, but it's more the domain of graphic design for me than photography. I could see this printed huge on the side of a building with advertising in it, a double page spread in a magazine, somebody paying a fortune for this image to promote and market their cups or their coffee or something. Beautifully well done. I'm not knocking it. Sorry, it's not a runners up or in the points. It's purely for me. It's only my opinion. It didn't quite hit the button as a photo. But well done, Mikey. A lot of work you went into that. And please, guys, stop and study that, because there was a lot of work went into it. So speaking of things that possibly look as though they've been photoshopped, I had to pause on this one for quite a long time to get my head around it. I thought, is that a photoshopped image? Oh, and by the way, Luca, I love the fact you posted a little thing showing how you did it. Lots of you have been doing this, and I really appreciate it. It really is selfless, and it's helping people out a lot. I'm guessing this is a multiple exposure rather than a photoshopped image. I could be wrong. I'm guessing. And the thing that leads me to think it might be is, look at the handle of the second cup. It's sort of merging slightly with the red one. So I don't know, but I'm guessing the cups are sort of set up. You know, this is your setup on the table, and you've got a shot of one. Tilt the camera, move the cup into the right place. You've got a black background, so it's not affecting the first exposure. Take the second shot, remove the first and second cups, set up the third shot, move the camera, take the third shot. But because we're looking at a black surface, it isn't going to mess up what's going on with the other cups. Do you see what I mean? Photography is all about thinking. It's a little row of dominoes. Right, if I do this, how can I do that? Okay, well, if I do that, it's going to knock this domino over. So how am I going to support it? Right, well, if this one falls over, I need to compensate with this. And that's really all it is. That is how photography works. That is creativity. So, yeah, thank you very much for sharing how you did that, Luca. Really, really appreciate that. Another beautifully set up image here. Sorry, I'm trying to find out who it was. Martin Pritchett. Again, really well done. It's very graphic, it's very clean, it's very precise, and it works. I'm just giving you a shout out. I can't knock it. I can't say there's anything wrong with it. I think it's really good. But as I said earlier, I wonder if you guys completely hate me because you made me work so hard. I was well over, what, 14 hours or more, I guess, looking at these images of yours to make sure I really thought about it and made some good choices. Sorry, I'm just moving things around on my other laptop. So who have we got next? Oh yes, sorry. Martin also shared how it was done. This is so clever, Martin. The number of times I've thought, I need a small white infinity curve. It never occurred to me to use a bathtub. How simple is that? How simple and brilliant is that? This is creativity. This is thinking like a photographer. This is thinking your way through things. This is what really my training's about, you know. There's Ultimate Beginner's course, which tells you how to use the camera, compose things, look at light, use focal lengths, autofocus modes and stuff like that, the things you need. And then there's the 7 building blocks, which teaches you how to stitch it all together, how to solve problems just like this. Yeah, what a wonderful idea, using a bathtub. I think that is completely amazing. We need to have another special little shout out here as well, I think, for Tracy Hoffmann. Now, I'm not sure if Tracy is the 9-year-old daughter or Tracy is mum, but you did an amazing job, young lady. I really think you did a cracking job. I mean, look, everything is beautifully sharp and in focus. You've got some really nice light going on. You've thought about what you're doing, and you're 9. Come on, guys, there's a lot of adults out here who could learn a lot from this 9-year-old. Try and reconnect with your 9-year-old self. When you're 9, you're not afraid to experiment and try stuff out, are you? You're come on, let's give it a go. I don't care if there's jam all over my face, you know. I'm still a bit like that. But this is the thing, this is the key. Don't be afraid to get it wrong. Have more confidence in your choices. Have the confidence of a 9-year-old, because you've done a really great job. You've got great light, you've got great composition, the whole thing is sharp. I can see you've thought about how to position things. Now, because you've done it so well, I'm going to give you a bit of creative feedback, a bit of creative criticism here to help you make things better. I'm being quite harsh because you've done this so well, and I can see just how good you can be. The towel or blanket or whatever it is, it doesn't quite work because the light picks up the textures and the folds, and it looks as though you popped it onto textures and folds. Something that would work really well, and possibly even work with the blanket better, would be if you could move the cup and I don't know if it's a bar, I'm not quite sure what it is, or a serviette wrapper, I don't know. If you could move the whole lot away from the blanket at the back, great idea to make that swoopy curve with the blanket, just like Martin did using the bath. You go and try it in the bath, that'll work. But if you can move it away, it doesn't look like it's leaning against it. The next problem, the next building block of photography that you would then have to overcome is, how do I stop the bit at the top with love written on it from falling over? How do I keep it there? I can see you've delicately balanced and propped it up. Here's a thought, I don't know if this would work, but if you could move it away, and then, I don't know, if you could get something, maybe some tape, maybe some blue tack, maybe something, maybe if you weren't using a blanket, you could use blue tack, big wodge of it, a couple of pencils or pens or something stuck in it. It's hidden behind the cup, and then that's leaning and holding up the love at the top. I think it would help. But cracking job, Tracy. I don't know if you're the photographer or if you're mum, but you're doing a great job. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. I want to talk a little bit about this image from someone who I respect immensely, Kay Gill. You've been around my stuff for ages. You've been such a brilliant evangelist and been so great in contributing and trying to help us keep the business afloat, because times are tough right now. They really are for everyone. So Kay, your image, great idea. And again, I can see you've thought about it and you've been very careful in how you executed it. When you have a very graphic shape such as this, you've got to be really careful to keep the camera square onto it, to keep everything nicely lined up. For example, if your subject is here, my hand, I don't know if you can see that camera, my phone. If the subject is here and the phone is like that, it's not going to be square anymore. It's going to be wonky. You've done a really great job of keeping that square and straight. I think the focal length of your lens was a little too short, and it's kind of making the cups in the middle sort of bubble up a bit like that. I don't know, maybe if you could have got a bit higher, stood on another chair, I don't know, stilts perhaps. The other thing is, of course, that really bright highlight in the middle, and I've seen a few comments whizzing through. I've just seen something, sorry, that was my granddaughter, Tracy Hoffmann, who took the picture. Tracy is mum. Sam, please, I don't know if Sherry's watching, give her a huge hug from me. Cracking job. Please tell her she's done a cracking job and to just stick with it. She's going to be another Renee Robin. Tell her to go and Google Renee Robin, R-E-N-E-E-R-O-B-I-N, I think. It might be Y-N. And see some of her amazing creative work. Kay, sorry, I'm coming back to you. I just saw that message, and before it flips up. The highlight in the middle is killing it, absolutely stone dead, and I'm going to guess you whammed that with a flash from the camera, and what we're looking at there is a reflection of the flash. There are no shadows, everything is coming straight down. Maybe if you could have done it without a flash, used a bit of light from a window so there were some shadows going diagonally or sideways. I know it's a mugs competition, not shadows competition, but again, these are all parts of the building blocks of photography. Will this picture look better with some shadows in it? Might do. Let's try it and see. And when you've tried it and seen enough times, you can then pre-visualize it. You look at something and go, needs shadows. Just like a chef will almost smell something without tasting it and go, needs a little bit of oregano. It's one of those things. It comes with experience, and that is all. Practice really looking at things. But good effort, Kay. Good effort. What have we got here? Richard. I'm sure it's Richard. I haven't got enough arms, legs, eyes, or windows on things. Forgive me if I get your name wrong. Richard. I really, really lingered over this picture because I get it. I really get it. It feels like a chilly spring morning, maybe evening, don't know which. It feels like, you know, this is maybe evening, like it's been a great day and it's now got chilly in the evening and you're sitting outside having a mug of tea because you just want to make that day last. You just want to be out there in that gorgeousness and stretch it on out even though it's cold. That's the emotion, that's the feeling that this picture is giving me. Why? We've got the orangey colour coming from where the sun is setting, that orangey warmth. We've got the blueness of the shadows. And before anyone mentions it, I love the lens flare. For me, it works. I know the purists will go, oh, you can't have lens flare, oh, bad, wicked and wrong, you've got to go to prison right this minute. No. Simon, who I was doing the workshops in Asia with, he was photographing, I think it was the Singapore Symphony Orchestra, and somewhere there's a video of him trying to get lens flare into the shots, you know. It's a great creative tool, that lens flare around the sun and the little boo coming down the picture. Really great. Problem, it's too bright. The difference in exposure between the sky and the cups is too much. So what happens is your eye kind of misses the cups and hits that bright bit, and then it comes back. And yeah, I love the picture, but that's not really working too well. It needs to be a bright sky, the sun's in it, but that's too bright. Now, I'm guessing you got the cups really dark because you were hopefully trying to get that sky darker, but of course it darkened the cups too, didn't it? Again, excuse me, those of you who've done my 7 building blocks of photography will already be asking yourselves powerful questions, won't you? How could I deal with that? How can we darken the sky? How can we brighten the cups? All that kind of stuff. Well, there are many options. How could we brighten the cups? Let's look at that. See if we can make the cups brighter so they're catching up with the sky. Maybe you could have put light into the cups. It would take a lot of skill to do it and make it feel real without, you know, just hitting it with a flash. That wouldn't really work. That would be one option. Another option could be to use a neutral density graduated filter, and you just line it up, a hard grad, just bring it down, line it up with the horizon. You need a big, thick, heavy one too. You need a really thick grad. I don't know how many stops, but quite a lot. But you bring that down, line it up with the horizon, and that would hold that sky back. It would bring the dark area and the bright area closer together. This is what I'd call pre-production, not post-production. You're just doing it on like this side of the lens instead of that side of the lens. Doesn't make any difference. Cameras and eyes don't see things the same way. You're sitting there with those cups, you're looking at that sky. It isn't white right the way across the horizon. You're still seeing details of clouds and a little bit of other stuff going on. The camera can't do that. That is why we have post-production. Simples. So yes, neutral density filter, maybe added a bit of light to this side of the cups. Another little sneaky thing you can do is an old darkroom, black and white photography darkroom trick. If you have a piece of black card, let's pretend that my phone is black card. You see this bright area over my shoulder here where the window is. I don't know if I can do this. But if, as you took the shot on a slowish exposure, you kind of had a piece of black card up close to the lens, and then what you do is you just kind of go flutter, flutter, flutter during the exposure, and you're just holding that back. You're creating a different exposure for the bright area of the picture. We were doing it at a waterfall in Iceland a couple of years ago on one of the workshops. You see, there are many ways to reach Rome. None of them are right. There isn't a correct one. And it's probably why I sometimes get a little frustrated when people are saying, oh, what's the best lens to buy for landscape? What's the best camera to buy? It doesn't matter. They all take you to the same place. Get the one you like and can afford. Get on and use it. So what have we got here? Kevin. I really liked this shot. I like the shadows. I like the shapes. There are so many great mug shots. I love the way we've kind of got a dark handle, a light handle, and a dark handle. The way we've got, you know, just the way the light is falling, the little bits of separation that you have got in there. It's just separating the cups. If all those shadows were blocked together and it was just one dark area, it wouldn't work at all. But it does work, and it's really great. And the way that light's coming in along and then going up the wall at the back there, Then we got, again, the 1, 2, 3 stripes. 3 is a powerful number. You got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It really works to repeat numbers in pictures as well. Don't overanalyze that. It's just something that happens. Just maybe look for it when you're looking at shots. How could you improve this, Kevin? For me, it's just a little bit tight there on the left. That first mug seems to be so hunkered down in the corner. Maybe a little bit more space, give things room to breathe. I like space around things, as you're going to find out with next week's challenge. But a little bit more space to breathe, maybe not quite so hard against the edge of the shot. It works for some things and it causes edginess. You know, everyone says that a portrait should be looking into the shot like that, don't they? Am I going the right way? Yeah, I am, looking into the shot with space. But it can be really edgy to do it the other way around, you know? Come in over here, do something crazy, do something mad. That can work really, really well too. Good effort, Kevin. I really like it. We're on the subject of space. You've got a great shot here, Beverly. It's beautifully lit. You've got great backlight coming through that glass. Look at that handle pop. It's great. You really have got lovely light. It's bringing the glass to life. Translucent objects, they pop if you put light behind them. Don't try and light a glass from the front. Won't work. It'll look flat, dead and horrible. If you bring light through it from behind towards the camera, nailing it. We've got a nice few bubbles going on. We've got a little bit of fizz. But again, it's kind of like, why are we so tight on that glass when there are hints of such a beautiful reflection going on your blue background? I don't know how you created it. Again, 7 building blocks of photography. How can I make a shiny blue, you know, thing to reflect? You know, you think these things through. You go, what I need is something shiny. Where's something shiny? I know, I'm going to take the glass out of that picture frame. Right, what can I prop it up on? Right, 4 cans of beans. Great, now how do I make it blue? Oh, we got that blue blooming set of sheets or pillowcases. Let's go and put that down there. Do you see what I mean? You stack things up. This is where photography lays. This is where Benno and the others, this is what they mean about planning and thinking things through one step at a time. But what's going on here, Beverly, is it's like, it's too in your face. You're kind of going, beer, beer, hey, look everyone, it's a beer, it's Mike, here's Mike. You don't want me there, do you? For goodness sake, you know, you're, whoa, back off. Let's give it a little bit of room to breathe. Let's see a little bit more of that awesome reflection, please. Because you've done all the technical stuff really, really well. Oops. I clicked the wrong thing, forgive me. Lorraine, I saw you earlier in the chat when we were waiting. Hello, Lorraine. You wanted to do one of my courses? Yeah, ping us an email or try a sample, whatever. I love your idea. I really do. The thought of putting some little sparkly fairy lights in amongst some glass mugs is such a good idea. It's given it a real... I don't know whether it's a Christmassy feeling or a little magical feeling. I genuinely get a bunch of little sparkly fairies like on Peter Pan, all sort of whizzing around in amongst those glasses. It's a great thing. You have created a feeling, an emotion, and I think the great photographers do that. But again, I'm just thinking, we're right in your face here again. It's like, let those bad boys breathe a little bit. Give them a little bit of space. Yeah, I don't mean tons, but even if you just back off, sometimes it only takes a couple of inches. Sometimes it's just, you know, 4 or 5 millimeters of zoom that will make a world of difference to a picture. I don't know how great your angle is. I quite like the angle because we're getting the reflections. The other thing is, I bet you spent so much time putting this together, and you're going to curse me for what I'm going to say, because I bet you tried really hard to hide those wires. They're a pain, aren't they? This is what photography is. It's hiding wires. It's thinking up ways to make blue reflective surfaces. It's thinking up how to hide wires and all that stuff. The camera is just the tool. It'd be like, you know, bricklayers arguing over which trowel is best. It's just a tool. The skill is in the laying, not the trowel. It's in the bricklayer. So, great effort. Lovely idea, Lorraine. Really, really like it. Geraldine, I like your idea here too. I think you've got a great idea. But there's a couple of buts. You could hear them, couldn't you, coming down the wire. It's a bit too busy. It's kind of like your cups have got great, prisms of rainbow light going on in there. Psychedelic, Paul Welford, absolutely psychedelic. But they're a bit lost in the background. It's just a little bit too busy. And the other thing is, of course, needing light to come through the glass, through the translucency from behind. It's not easy. I know, I get it. It's not easy. Whoever said it was easy? But the thing is, it's so rewarding when you go, I've got it. The first photo shoot that I ever did many, many years ago was for a couple of girls who lived, they had a workshop on, on the back of the farm where I'd got my motorbikes and the office and everything. And they made glass sculptures, beautiful, beautiful glass sculptures. They made all sorts of trophies and awards for television ceremonies and all sorts of things. But what they really liked was making these glass dragons. They were incredibly beautiful things. And someone had said to me, glass is the hardest thing to photograph. So, right, I better go and learn how to do this. This is when I was learning. This is when I was teaching myself. And I kid you not, it took me 3 full days of waking up in the morning and trying to photograph glass before suddenly the penny dropped. The penny was in the air for quite a long time spinning, and then suddenly plonk, nailed it, got it. I understand, because it took me 3 days, and that was on film, 3 days of I had a sheet of plate glass from a door, a swoop of tracing paper going up like this to make it seamless. I had a light coming sort of from behind the swoop up through the glass, and I had another one coming up from underneath, and trying different levels of light. Another light discovered needed to be in front to lift the shadow just a bit, so we had some details. How did I know what was in each shot? Because we didn't have EXIF data in those days. Post-it note, every single shot, post-it note stuck in the shot itself, saying light here, little diagram, apertures, shutter speeds, all that stuff, what power the lights were on, so that when the shot that was right came up, instead of going, wow, I got it right there, I wonder what I did, there's a little post-it note in there, so I could have a look and go, okay, so that was that one, was it? How easy is photography these days? Great shot, Geraldine. Great idea. Light needed to come through the glasses. It's a little bit too busy, and personally I think it's a little bit underexposed. Could do with being just a bit brighter. Who have we got next? Claire Stacey. It's such a pretty image. I don't know if the blue is intentional or whether it's just one of those things. Maybe you were experimenting with white balances. Maybe you were thinking, I would like to have a little bit of a bluey colour here, make it kind of blue. And it works. I'm not knocking it, it works. Again, this is thinking like a photographer, guys. How can I make this shot blue? I know. Why don't I put it on a tungsten white balance, because that adds blue to get rid of yellow. Simples. But if you don't use this, if you're not thinking things through, it ain't going to work. Beautifully done, Claire. Beautifully done. My only real criticism, I think you got nice light, you got nice dapple lighting, nothing's burnt out, maybe a little tiny bit of bright white on the inside of the cup there, but hey, this has been compressed all to hell by Facebook. Again, give them a little bit of space to breathe. I just think it's a little too tight, top and bottom and down that side. But really nice shot, really nice shot. We have a similar thing going on here, Keith. Oh, what do we got here? Trish, it's a blue table. Is it? Cool. Which one? Right, back on subject, Browne. Look how beautifully well executed this is. The reflections. I don't know what you're reflecting that on. I don't believe it to be a mirror, because mirrors are a nightmare for this sort of thing, because they reflect everything in the room, unless you went to the extreme amount of trouble of blocking the reflections. This is what photographers do when they're photographing reflective things. You have to block reflections, literally. hanging up bits of black and white card all over the place, going, well, studying the shot and the viewfinder, going, blasted reflection of the window over there, and then finding where that reflection's coming from and then blocking it with a piece of white card or something like that. Because when you look at these highlights and reflections on these cups, the cups themselves, they're all uniform, and it's not like you can see a TV set in there or something. I think I can see a tiny little bit of your shadow in there, maybe, Keith. But it's minimal, and bear in mind, we are all looking for it at the moment. Beautifully executed shot, but again, I would just say a little bit more room to breathe. I just think it's cropped in too tight. The handles are so close to the edge. Just give them a bit more space. Give them a bit more space. You don't have to go. Here we go. So it's like, here's a picture of a phone. It's like it's out here. You don't have to crop it in like this to go, here's a picture of a phone. Because I think it's technically very well done. I think we've got another great idea going on here. and then here we have kind of like the opposite problem, slightly. Laurie, does that say? Struggling. I don't know if I can find it. Hang on. Let's see if we can find it. I want to find out what your name is. I've got to look on the other one. Here we go. It is Laurie Edwards. Great idea. Putting a glass in front of a sunset. Great idea. You're blowing the light through the glass, and in theory that should bring it to life. It should make it work. It should bring the glass to life. The problem here, I think, is it's a bit underexposed. We've also got those trees behind. I get it, I know it's locked down. You couldn't just take the whole thing out the other side of the trees because maybe that's your neighbour's garden or something. I don't know. The trees are possibly causing a problem, but also they could be really working because you can see the trees in the glass. It's like the cup's got the trees in them. Now, there may not be much light there, but there is light there. And I just think you could have brought that up brighter. You could have made that, increased your exposure, let the shot become maybe even twice as bright. And I think it might have helped. I admire your care with getting the camera flat and level. Look at the background line. There is no wonkiness. There's nothing going like this or like this. That is straight. That shows care. Really well done. There's again a little bit of distortion going on here. It's like the cup's bowing sort of this way towards you a little bit. So I'm guessing it was shot on a very wide angle. Maybe with a phone, I don't know. Can I read anything in here? No. Oh, Canon 6 Ti, there we go, 18-55. I think you're at the 18 end. Maybe had you been a little bit further back and closer to the 55 end, it might have worked a little better. Maybe you could have moved to the right a bit, so you'd have had the brighter bit of the sunset behind the glass instead of the trees. Photography happens outside the camera, but great idea, Laurie. Really good idea. You're full of good ideas, you lot. You really are. I'm not joking. You cause me so much pain going through these, trying to choose, trying to decide. Rob, I can see you really tried with this. I love the way you've got the handles together. Look at the shapes you're making with the shadows. I'm loving the way you guys are. It's kind of like you did the shadows and learnt something, and now you're bringing it to play in something else. I've kind of been watching this little theme going on. It's so exciting. Look at the shapes you've got in those shadows. It's just really, really beautiful. Really well done. Really well done. You've shot it carefully. You've got everything all lined up carefully. You've taken a lot of care to get that camera right in the middle, right over the top. Maybe a little bit of constructive criticism if you could have, again, got the camera maybe a little further away and made the lens a tiny bit longer. I think it would have helped because they're kind of bending outwards a bit. Maybe a little bit more focal length may have helped that. It looks to me like it could do with a little bit more exposure. It could be a little bit brighter. I think that would have helped things. It just looks a little bit flat and grey. Remember, everybody, cameras think the world is grey, and if you point a camera at something that is predominantly white, it will make it grey. That's why you get dull-looking pictures of snow, and you go to a white sandy beach and it looks all grey and dull. That's why. It's because the camera doesn't know it's a bright snowy scene. It doesn't know it's a bright white sandy beach. All it knows is it's been told the world is grey. Because that's the only way manufacturers can get around a light meter, and for the most part it is. When you look at green foliage, blue sky, that is actually mid-grey. But when you point your camera at something that's not average, you then have a problem, because the camera will then make it go grey. That's again why you've got to use your first building block of photography, your brilliant brain. You have to know these things and then know to ignore your camera, because your camera's an idiot. It doesn't know what's going on. It's just a trowel. You are the bricklayer. Great effort, a little bit undercooked, and the other thing is the patterns on, I'm guessing it's a plastic tabletop, they're a bit distracting. I think had it not been for that one coming across there, I don't know, maybe you guys like it. Put some comments in if you like the pattern in the background. Comment please in the feed. I'm watching it now. I'm interested to know. Personally, I find it a little distracting. If you like the pattern, please just say, Paul, needed to be a little bit more symmetrical. Yeah, I'd probably agree. Maybe if that one line wasn't there. Reminds me of Blake 7. Wish there was a triangle in the middle was perfect. It's not far off. The asymmetry of the cups and shadows bother me. It's funny, isn't it? You see, look, everyone's got their own opinion. Please keep them coming, because this is really powerful. It would have worked better without the pattern. Here we go. Jacqueline would have worked better without the pattern. Ahmed Berbers, I like the patterns. And guess what? They're both right. This is the great thing, isn't it? Look at those comments coming in. Thank you, guys. Great effort, Rob. Really, really great effort. And another one here. They're all great efforts. You're always doing great efforts. Every single one of you, regardless of whether you've just picked up a camera and you're not quite sure which way up to hold it. Everybody who's been there, all our celebrity judges, me, we've all been there and gone, I have no idea how this thing works at some point in time. Lee Murray, another beautifully executed shot. I know I'm bringing out a lot of beautifully executed shots here, but it is. I love the way you've used the blinds and the reflection on the table, the reflection of the cups. We've got shadows, we've got reflections, we've got so much good stuff going on there. You put a lot of care into this. I never expected what you guys are producing. Really well done. To me, I think, again, it needs a little bit more exposure. It just looks a tiny bit grey to me. It could be a bit brighter. Now I'm guessing your concern might have been those bright highlights and the blinds burning out, and they are burning out, but hey, highlights burn out. To our eyes, I mean, not just to cameras. You cannot have some scenes without burnt highlights. If you look at a street at night with all the street lights, all of those bulbs are burnt out in your eye. You cannot see the filament. You've just got an overbright little thing going on. When you look at the sun, if you could see the detail in the surface of the sun in a photograph, that would just be weird. It just doesn't work. Some highlights do burn out, sparkles on water. I feel this just needed a little bit more exposure, and you might have still been able to keep the back, or I don't know, maybe a little bit of a reflector just to bounce a little bit of light back in. So if you've got your blinds here, maybe. I don't mean the reflector going straight at the cups. I mean bringing the reflector round to the bright side, because it would keep the shadows and just maybe push a bit more light in to the cups, which meant you could have brought the whole, it would have lifted the whole thing without overexposing the back. George Baker just said just one colour element to distract from the grey. Yeah, it might work. I like it as it is. Many do. Many do. But good effort, nice one, Lee. And we got another brilliant idea coming on here. And I've really picked up on some great ideas, because I guess I really want to help you guys that are struggling a bit. It's all very well having a competition and I go, this is brilliant because, this is brilliant because, this is brilliant because, if nobody tells you how or why. You've got a great idea going on here. Who are we? Daniel Platten. You've got a great idea going on here. So beautifully kind of executed. I love it. It's just super simple and it works. But again, I just think it's undercooked. I think it needs to be brighter. It looks to me again like the camera has seen a load of bright and it's gone, ooh, grey, and it's forced the exposure down. And bear in mind, guys, if you're shooting in you think, okay, I'll go and do it manually. But if you do what the light meter tells you to do, you just will leave it in auto, because it just means you're turning the shutter and the aperture and the ISO controls instead of the camera doing it for you. First building block of photography. You know that cameras make things grey when they're really bright white, so what do you need to do to them? Brighten them up. Easy as that. That's photography. Great idea. Beautifully done. I love the symmetry, the way you've so carefully got that shadow into the opposing corner to the cup. The highlight behind the cup is a little bit distracting. Guessing that comes from whatever you use to make the shadow. The light source is a little too close to the cup and it's causing that hot spot in the corner. If you could have moved the light source further away, maybe it's just a phone, something as simple as that, and there isn't much light, I get it. But it looks like you probably had the camera on a tripod, in which case it doesn't matter, you could leave the shutter open for 30 seconds, there will be enough light there will be a shadow there. But by having the light source really close to the subject, I really ought to get some useful things to get a subject, and never mind. If you've got a subject and a light source, if the light source is really close to the subject, you'll get like a pinprick of light. But if you move that away, it will be a much softer, more gentle light. I wonder if the torch on my phone will work. It usually doesn't. The torch app on this thing's useless. Is it going to work? Oh, look at that. Let's see if we can demonstrate. I don't know. See my hand there? If I put the torch, look, you see if the torch is close, we get that hot spot. Let me turn my hand that way, so maybe that way you get a bit more texture. But you see we got that hot spot. If we move the light source away, we're still getting the texture, but look, the hot spot has gone. It's called the inverse square law. It's how light behaves. It's how light falls off. There we go. Great effort. Beautifully checked out. Beautifully checked out. Beautifully done. Daniel. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Another one. I hate you lot. You're just making me work so hard. Jennifer Melchior Hansen. What a cool name. What a great idea. What a simple yet great idea. You notice how I like simple pictures. I'm a simple boy. I like simple pictures. Maybe you like more complex ones. This is you know all part of it, isn't it? We all like different things. It's such a simple idea. We got coffee, we got white, we got black, we got lipstick. It just works. It's your eye immediately is drawn to the interruption of that red lipstick, and you just go bang straight into it. Really great idea. What could you have done to improve it? I don't know. Maybe a shadow. Maybe just a little bit of shadow. Maybe the handle turned towards the camera a teeny bit more. Who said horizon line? Somebody said Jill 3D needs to raise the horizon line. I'm going to come to that in a minute, Jill. Turn that handle of the cup a little more. Maybe if you could have blown a little bit of light slightly from the side to have a nice cup-shaped shadow with a handle on that white there. I think that would have helped. But I really like it. Now, as for the line in the back, I don't mind it. I quite like it. Would it be better without the line? For me? Too perfect. Guys, comment. Tell us. Line or no line? Any of you who saw that video in Switzerland with the twigs in the side, I drove you nuts. Do you remember? Line or no line? Janet Cooper said a bit more contrast. Yeah, I'd probably agree. Put it in the bath. Nice one, Tim. No line, no line, no line, 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 line. Do you think there's a bit, so it's not just floating? If no line, then need a shadow. So it's not just floating. Good point, yeah. Have a look at the comments. But great job, Jennifer. I quite like the line because I quite like the way it's disrupting. The fact that the white is so uniform and the line is so thin, I don't mind it. I quite like it, but I'm a bit weird like that. Look at all you lovely people banging in comments. Great job. Nicely done, Jennifer. Now, who have we got? I think the ladies seem to be rocking it pretty hard, you know, guys. Come on, us rough, beardy trouser wearers. I think we need to move up a level. The ladies are doing rather a good job here. Isabel, another great idea. Now, I put these two together for a reason, and that is, I think Jennifer's awesome picture here could have benefited a little bit from some of Isabel's shadows. That's all. You see how the light is kind of wrapping itself around the cup. It's giving it a real cuppy shape. Yeah? It's light and shade. That is what gives shape and texture. The light is coming from behind the handle and it's giving it that lovely dark shadow which is following the curve around. Really, really nicely done. We've got the shadow on the ground as well, on the ground, on the backdrop, on the whatever it is. You've got an infinity curve there. I don't know what you're using, Isabel. Comment if you get a chance. Gosh, what a waste of coffee, but I like this one. Iglo, lovely to see you. Awesome. Iglo came to Lanzarote with me. She's from Iceland. Good to see you, Dr. Iglo. What a waste of coffee. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent. Good at that. But look at the shape of the cup. It's the light coming from behind it and wrapping around it as it comes into the shot. That's really great. But look at the highlight behind the cup. Isabel, just a little bit of carefulness because it's this business again. That's all it is. It's just this business. Look, you can still have the light, but you can do it kind of. Oh, this is difficult. Here we go. Without the hotspot. Look, you see the hotspot's pretty much gone, but we've still got the light. And it's just a question of moving things backwards and forwards. It's just the way light behaves. Sorry, I mustn't read the comments. Beautifully done. Really great idea. And I can imagine you did make a huge amount of mess in doing this. I can't imagine how many times you had to do it. Trying to capture drops is something that is so hard. I guess you probably used a flash to do it, an off-camera flash or something like that, because you need a fast shutter speed to do that. Or a slow shutter speed in the dark with a burst of flash, and then the flash freezes it, you don't have to worry about the shutter speed. Nice job, nice try, good effort, really like it. Who have we got here? Gemma, that's another lady. I like your idea again, Gemma. The symmetry that you're creating, but we're underexposed. It's not bright enough. I like the shadows. Little things could make a difference here. It needs quite a bit more exposure. It is very dark. Also, the handles of the cups. If you're going to do symmetry, you've got to be symmetrical. The handles of the cups are not quite the same way. Where the grey and the red meet in the middle, they're not quite on point. And I know this is really picky things, but when you go into really clear symmetry, it really does have to be really clear symmetry. But it's a great idea, Gemma. You really did give it a great shot there. I've got so many. I just realised what the time is. I'm going to have to speed up a bit. I want to talk about all your pictures so much. Patrick. Another beautifully done idea, drawing from last week's shadows and putting it all together really, really well. I think you have pulled it together well. I like the way it's a square shadow on that top. I wonder how you've created it. Does it come in naturally from a window? Is it something you've created? Don't forget, guys, you can create shapes and shadows. Imagine what you could do. Remember George with his cutting out of cardboard boxes and making silhouettes out of cardboard? Well, what could you do with a piece of cardboard to create a highlight like that? I'm not going to tell you. Stick it in the feed comments if you like, but I'm not going to tell you. Have a little think about it. And if you know, don't write it in there. If you know immediately, I know how to do that. Don't be clever, let others think, because that's how they learn. They think, they have to stretch their brain. But really great effort. Again, I think it could be an eensy bit brighter, but maybe that's just me. I like bright things. What do we got here, Phil? I like your idea. I can see where you're going with this, but I'm really sorry, Phil. It's just too busy and it doesn't work. And I think you hit it with a flash on the camera. I get it, it's wine o'clock. Maybe you'd had a few. I didn't mean that to sound rude. But it's like, I think the light is coming from in front. It's hitting that glass. And remember we said earlier, if you put light behind glass, it makes it sparkle and definitive and come to life. If we have another quick look here at Beverly's Beer on Blue, you see how clearly defined that glass is. Look around the bottom of the handle. You see how the glass is just bursting with life and vibrancy and excitement. It's because the light's coming through from behind. If you could bring the glass away from that background a little bit, and I don't know, maybe you could do it at an angle near a window, and then you'd have a little bit of light coming in through behind the glass. It would also bring the colour of the wine to life too, and you could still have your nice piece of artwork there as well. I don't know if that's stained glass or something. It looks like it. Nice idea, see where you're going, but yeah, think about light. Light is just so important. Light and composition and using your first building block of photography, that is what makes all the difference. I don't care how expensive your lens or your camera is, but good effort, nice idea. And here's another fabulous idea, isn't it? Well done, Yvonne. Great idea, playing with perspective. You know, it's just fun, isn't it? It's just fun. I can imagine you there with your camera in this hand, you're trying to get the mug in the right place over here somewhere to getting your husband, son, whoever, I don't know, on the grass there. Great idea. Really good fun, really good fun. It's a tough thing to do. I just wanted to give you a shout out because it's good fun. Here's another very graphic image from Gordon Melrose. There's a picture here I think I'm missing. Where's it gone? Okay. Sorry. Gordon, really nice idea again, using shadows and cups and symmetry and all that good stuff. Really nice idea. I'm not sure if it's possibly an teeny bit busy. Yeah, I like this one too. I'm seeing a few likes coming in here. Really nice idea, really nice image. Again though, I think if you're going to go graphic, you've got to be so super careful. I'm being really picky here because you guys are rocking it at the moment. See how the corners of the picture are not quite lining up with where the two handles of the cups butt together. It's kind of like the lines not quite going corner to corner. I know I'm being super picky. And I know it's difficult because your shadow lines are. Go figure, I don't know how that works. But great idea nonetheless, Gordon. Great idea. And I love the way you used the light and the shade. Here's another awesome idea from Norrie Anderson. Taken outside at dusk to get the lighting right. No matter how much I tried indoors, the shiny mugs didn't look right with the artificial light. Little thing about artificial light there. An awful lot of people go out and they spend lots of money on lighting equipment. But generally speaking, what photographers are actually doing with the lighting equipment is usually they're trying to mimic natural light. Why do they use lighting equipment instead of natural light? Possibly because if it's controlled, they create what looks like natural light and then it will stay there forever. If you do it with natural light, it can be very difficult because natural light, what's it doing all the time? Changing, isn't it? It never stays the same for very long. It's always changing, it's always moving. When we did the shadows thing in here, there's the window highlight. Where is it? I'm turning this the right way. There it is. See that bright thing there? When I did the two, I'm not very good at this, am I? There. That bright highlight there. That's what was used to light, the two little bottles but the light only appears on that area there for about 45 minutes on a sunny day in the afternoon. There are no other bright pools of light. Tricky shot, natural light, nicely done, beautiful idea, Norrie. I never have thought of it, putting little night lights inside cups. Again, you've been so careful to get them symmetrical. But also, again, I would say it just needs a bit more exposure. It just needs to be a bit brighter. Something somewhere has made it a bit too dark. Just jack up that exposure a little bit. And again, give it a little bit more room to breathe. I know I sound like a scratch record this week, but I do think it needs a little bit more room to breathe. I was so delighted to see this shot come in. Neil, I remember a conversation you had in the group and you were saying, I think I'm going to pack this in, I can't really do this. And you did that. It's great. I love it. It caught my eye straight away and I was so pleased when I saw it was you. The light is really great. It's just beautiful light. I just like the little bit of hand there coming in and picking up the mug off the shelf, and the textures of the wood, the angle that it's going on at, it's just kind of eye-catching. You said, I think, because by the way, I don't read the comments, guys, until I have looked at the picture. It's a case of the picture. If I look at the picture and go, I love that, I think it's awesome, I screen grab it and chuck it in a folder. Do it every day. Screen grab, chuck in a folder. Screen grab, chuck in a folder. I just go through screen grabbing, chucking in folders. And then I look at the screen grabs. And I was really pleased. Where is it? In the end, I thought I'd show you my very hard-working, much abused pint-and-a-half capacity work mug. And it works. Totally get it. Totally get it. Can see that there is a connection there. There is something emotive to it. You've got, again, we've talked about this so much tonight, the light coming from behind and kind of folding and wrapping around the mug, around, the shape. Look how it's just catching your thumb in the edge of the picture. We don't need to see a whole hand, We don't need to go, hand, to know there's a hand there. We just need that little bit of light around the thumb there. That's all it needs. Got it. Nailed it. Boom. Well done, Neil. Well done. Oh, clicking the wrong thing. Another very carefully laid out shot by Anne Young. Sue Wilshire just said the bar is high. Not half, not half. I wouldn't have thought of half of these things. Anne Young, great. I can see how much care you put into that. And again, you've really got some quite nice light, even though the light is coming from very much above. I don't know if you used a little puff of flash. I don't know whether it's something in the room. I like your idea of laying out the cups. But again, if you're going to go graphic, you've got to be so super careful with, graphic things. The cup on the left, the handle's not quite, is it? And it's like the gap at the top, you just cut the top of the handle off and it's such a shame. It's kind of crashed into the top. It's kind of like, look, it's kind of like there. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of a little bit uncomfortable, isn't it? It'd just be nicer if it was kind of there, like that. But a nice idea, nicely tried and executed, as so many are. Another great idea. I just really like it. It reminds me of an exposure compensation switch. But it is a nice idea and simple. And it works. That's all I can say about it, really. I think we have this similar little theme with the light. It's like there's that little bit too much hotspot, top right-hand corner. Again, possibly the light source is just a little too close. By the way, if you're using a window, guys, move your setup further from the window. If you're getting a hotspot, it's because the light source is too close. The light source is the sun, but because it's coming through the window, it's going to be the window. And this was done with a north-facing window. It's a little confusing because the shadows are following the line of the diagonal, but we've got that hot spot. Just kind of move things a little bit, really get to notice things. And I'm being really picky here because you're producing such good stuff, but nice effort. Sorry, Martin. Nice effort, Martin. This one I thought was a very intriguing shot. Madalena Silagi. It's just so arty. It's just so different to the others. I really like it. I can see that on a wall. Really could. I could really see that as a frame print on the wall. I just really like it. You've got a great thing going on with the colours. You've got very few colours. You've got a bit of green and a bit of brown. You've got skin tones, very subtle colours, and they all fit together. They're all different tones of the same thing. So well done. My only criticism here would be, and I guess the piece of paper, your artwork wasn't big enough. I want to see your wrist. Your hands just cut off too high. I want to see your wrist. We got that, the way you're holding the cup really beautifully, and then your hands just sort of cut off in not quite a comfortable place. I think if we got the symmetry going down to your wrist, that's really all it needed. But I really like that. I really do like that. Another beautifully executed shot. If you want to look at some great light, look at this. And I really love the fact it's in black and white. Very gentle, very subtle. Beautiful piece of light. Really beautiful piece of light. What can I say? It's really well executed and it works. I'm sorry you're not a winner or a runner-up. You know what? I'm not joking. This week was really tough because, so I got my screen grabs. I can't show them to you now, it's too complicated, it'll take ages. I got my screen grabs and I have like a folder with, it's kind of like, these are the runners up, and just sort of go down through the screen grabs and go, yeah, that one, that one, that one, that one. Okay, what do we got left? Yeah, I want to talk about that. I know what I want to say about that. And then that one, that one, that one. Then I go in there and it's like, oh, really? 5 runners up and a winner? I've got to take something like 30 out of here. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. If you haven't had one of your pictures mentioned, I saw a couple of comments, by the way, along the way, saying, I've been doing this for several weeks, but none of my pictures have been pulled out. I'm sorry, as I said earlier, there are just too many. There are just too many, and there's only one of me. I think actually our judges, our guest judges, don't want to do it anymore because they realise what hard work it is. Anyway, where are we now? The big announcement. We're coming into the points now. We're coming into the money shots. If you've got any questions, we're going to do our Q&A on the end as usual. We're going to have a little bit of time. So please, if you have questions that you want to ask me directly about any of the images, please just keep posting them in there, and Emma will feed them to me. I expect she's harvesting them already. Em, don't worry about sending them through just yet. But that's all it is. Look at all these comments coming in. You guys are just so engaged, and I totally respect you for that. Totally, totally. And I'm honoured and privileged to have you spending your Sunday evenings with me. Thank you. Another very graphic shot, our first of our runners up from, I do apologise. Really? Don't tell me I haven't got it. Sorry about this, guys. I can't see it. It's too small on the screen for my eyes are old and bent. Here we go. Jim Sloss. It's just really well done. It really is. It's done with a lot of precision. It's done with a lot of care. The colours work. It's just we've got that outer dark circle, the gold inner circle, and we've got the inner dark circle, and it's just wrapped in a white line. And even though it's just like a circle with a thing coming off the bottom, we know what it is. It's simple. Often the simplest things I find work very, very well indeed. So Jim, congratulations. You're definitely a runner-up. I can't really give you constructive criticism how to make it better other than to be a parrot and say the same old thing. A little bit more space around it. But really, really well done. Congratulations. Really. So let's go to our next runner-up. And this one was a surprise to me that I put it in my runners-up, because this is not the sort of thing I'd normally go for. But it is so, so well done, Eric. It really is well done. It is very classical, isn't it? It's a very classical still life picture of some cups and things, and I'm not entirely sure what all the things are. They're what are they? They're called something apple. Somebody tell me, please. Put a comment. Yeah, Dutch Masters, Bob. Yeah, exactly. Old Master. That's exactly the feeling, and I'm loving it. You're getting the same thing. Moody, Old Master. This is popping up all over again. Guys, put in. How do you feel? What's it doing for you? I think we should do that as we go through the last images. What is it doing for you? How do you feel when you look at it? It's Old Master. It's classical. Beautifully lit, beautifully put together. The way the light's just catching those, whatever they are. There's something apples they're called, aren't they? Like, it's not crab apple, it's something. I remember playing around with them when I was a kid. Grandmother wall art. Yeah, it is. Dutch Master. Yeah, absolutely. Mangosteens? Is that what they are, George? I thought they were something else. But anyway, beautifully done. Congratulations, Eric. Congratulations. I think it is a really well lit and beautifully put together picture. Really nicely done. As is the next one, which is, I just think, again, it's just so simple. And it's the way you played with light, Dean, yes. It's the way you played with light on this. Again, it's almost an abstract, but we know what it is immediately. And yet, it's compelling to look at. Who would have thought, take some pictures of 4 cups, could produce what it has? You guys are just awesome. But the way that light is just kind of kissing the middle too, I'm really intrigued. I don't know, did you say how you did it? Oh yes, you drove your long-suffering wife batty, haphazardly positioning things. Great, that's what it's all about. Drive your household mad. But it's beautifully put together. I like the shapes, the swirls, the shapes. The camera angle is perfect, so you're looking straight through. And we've got that repeating pattern. Repeating patterns work very, very well. You've got the repeating pattern of the mug handles going back through. We've got the repeating pattern of the shape of the handles repeated in the black, right at the very back, in the middle, at the background. We've got the repeating pattern of, I guess it's folds in a curtain or something on the right. It doesn't matter what it is, but we've still got that repeating pattern going on. Really nicely done. I wonder how you lit it. I can't follow the comments, they're too fast. But congratulations, Dean. This one completely blew me away when I first saw it. I so wish this was one of my pictures. Diane Harper. What I get looking at this is cup of tea in the bath. I really do, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I get cup of tea in the bath. It's a hot, steamy bath, or a steam room, or I don't know what it is. That's what I get. It's like, where the bloody hell is it? It's so misty and foggy in here. I just think it's great. I really do, Diane. And you know, again, look, you just demonstrated that whole thinking like a photographer thing. You wrote, I was using tracing paper on the window to diffuse the harsh sunlight, thinking like a photographer. When I suddenly thought, what if I, thinking like a photographer, that's what it is. It's not upgrades, it's not cameras, it's not gadgets, it's not switches, it's not functions. It's you. Really, really well done, Diane. I think that is great. Coffee and a sauna. What are you getting, guys? Come on, write it in there. I want to know how this makes you feel. Photography is about, it is an art form, isn't it? It's about provoking an emotion. It could be a landscape. Oh, I want to go there. We don't like, oh, that's a nice picture. An emotion is, I want to go there. Oh, I'm thinking of a cup of coffee in the bath. Oh, I'm thinking about an icy cold beer. Oh, whatever. It's the oh moment. That's the thing. Makes me think of a reflection in a steamed up mirror. I hadn't thought of that, Charles. Absolutely. Reminds me of Psycho. Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, it's dreamy. Cup in the shower, like in a spy movie. Well, lots of you are agreeing. You see, loads of you are agreeing about that. I never watch psycho movies and things like that. I don't like horror movies. It's just me. I'm a big blouse. But look, it's provoking emotions, and that is just so cool. So, our final runner-up, and I think this is, again, just a beautifully, beautifully simple and well-executed picture. Steve Smith. It's just so beautifully done. It's beautifully lit. We've just got that hint of steam, vapor coming up off the hot drink. I'm going to say coffee, might be tea, who knows what it is. Doesn't matter. The dark background. The thing that is making this truly work is the light. It's lighting. Light is everything. Everything, everything, everything. You imagine what this would look like if everything was all the same amount of light right the way across. The fact that you've got this little bit of light, it's just kissing the edge of the jam tart, and then it's going on to caress the cup. It's kind of creating that relationship between the two. It's also just touching the saucer behind the dark side of the cup, which is giving it its shape. If there was no light on the saucer, you wouldn't see the right-hand side of the cup at all. It just would not be there. It needed something to give us the shape, to fill it in for our brains a little bit. There's a few little subtle reflections, they don't matter. It's like it's giving it life, it's giving it something. I just think it's a really well done shot. Congratulations, Steve. And also I just need to share with you, the second I saw it, it reminded me of an advert that I saw in a magazine. Me and my mates, my scruffy ass biker mates, years back when we were about, I don't know, 18 or 20, there was an advert in a magazine, and it was just, we just had us all in hysterics. It made us giggle like bunches of schoolgirls. And we all had this advert cut out and put on our walls, and you made me think of it so much. I went online and found it because I just wanted to share it with you, because I just thought it was funny. But your photograph, Steve, is shot better than this one. Okay, this was on the side of buildings and by the side of the road. I think it's a really funny advert, but your image is far more creatively shot and put together. Congratulations, beautifully, beautifully done. So we're getting close to question and answer time, guys. We're not too bad on time. We're going to have a little bit of time just to ask some general questions, so by all means keep them popping in too. Emma is on the lookout. So we are now down to this week's winner. And I had to keep coming back and juggling with this. It's such a hard choice, because you have raised the bar so high, all of you. And I also mean you guys who are just starting out. Don't feel left out. Please don't think I'm just addressing the people that are good at this. I'm really, really not. I want you to be encouraged by what you're seeing, not put off. I want you to be inspired by what you're seeing and hopefully learn a little bit along the way. Because it's a journey, you know, it's a journey. It really is. We have all been at the beginning and not known how to do it. But this anyway, this image that I chose as the winner, and I had to choose it because when I first saw it, I thought, what on earth is that? I didn't know what it was, but it was eye-catching and just kept coming back to it and kept coming back to it and kept coming back to it. And then eventually the penny dropped and I realised what it was. And so, Mahesh is this week's winner. It's the bottom of a water glass. And it's just, I just think it's great. I could see that on the wall. I really could. It's an abstract, but it's like, bam, you know where to look. Instantly. Bam, you know where to look. It's just, you know, the light coming through the glass. Again, remember, glass, backlight it. Backlight glass, backlight glass, backlight glass. It brings it to life. Did you just literally take this outside, maybe hold it in your hand or put it on a table? I have no idea how you did it. But the light coming through the glass is what is creating that super strong black and white. it looks like something out of sci-fi, and to begin with I thought it probably was, and kind of like I kept coming back, staring at it, and then it was realised that those two little marks down to the right on the base, and I thought, it's glass, and realised what it was. So you've held that up or lined it up, and you've, I guess, shot a sunset through it, or you put a coloured light. I'm guessing if you're here, Mahesh, tell us, what is it? I think that is a real bit of colour in the sky sunset. Just the way the blue is going down into the orange and the brightness in the bottom quadrant of the base of the glass. Really simple, but just beautifully executed, beautifully done, beautifully lined up. There's a little bit of shallowness of depth of field going on here too. So the focus is right on that bright little point. Remember, the brightest point in the picture usually hits where your eye goes. And that bright point is super emphasized with all those things coming in. But as you go back down the side of the glass, because it's in close, the depth of field has shrunk, and so it's fading away, and it's just grabs your attention straight away. Mahesh, I think you did a really, really great job there. I truly, honestly do. Congratulations, and very, very well done, everybody. Everybody. You're an awesome bunch of people, and thank you for being there and getting stuck in. I think you're all going to rock it. Those of you who want to, you know, look, there's no right or wrong in any of these things, because if you want to take amazing pictures, you just do it because you want to do it. Anyone can do anything they want. It's just a question of how much do you want to do it, you know. You could become a brain surgeon if you want to. Maybe some of you already are. You could. If you wanted to go and do the study and the years and put in the investment and the work and the effort and the time, then yeah, you can go and become a brain surgeon. Do you want to pay the cost? That's the effort and the work and the time. It's exactly the same in photography. I am a photography guide. That's what I do. I've been a professional photographer for a very long time. I won awards. I've shot for multinational corporations and individuals at their weddings alike. I love shooting weddings, they're great fun. But it's the teaching. It's watching things like this happen that are exciting. Seeing Neil go, oh, I don't know what to do, I think I'm going to be here. And then he goes, bam, and he brings in something like that, which was, you know, another week that would have been in the runners-up, if not a winning image. We all have our good and our bad days. We all have our ups and our downs, and that's just called being a human being. So we can do a little bit of Q&A here now, guys. We've got a little bit of time. If you want to ask some questions, if you've got some lined up already, then pop them through. If you've had enough of me, I completely understand, and we'll go on to the next challenge. Stephen Williams has asked, would you ever go back to shooting on film cameras? No. There were things about film I liked. I think shooting on film is a really good way to learn photography. I would recommend people go and get an old film camera if you want to learn photography. Go and shoot on film. Don't learn on digital. Because on digital, we've all been brainwashed by the industry to say the camera does it for you, the camera does it for you, buy our camera, it'll do it for you, you can't take a bad picture with this camera. We've just seen, no matter how much money you spend on your camera, it doesn't understand that a snow is meant to be really bright, it thinks it's grey. Film cameras have advantages because you have to think, you have to go one step at a time and think it through. I dug out my old Nikon F3 and I want to do a video with it when we get out of lockdown, just sort of have some fun. I love that old camera. No, I wouldn't go back to using film. It has its place, but digital just gives us ultimate control. We are in charge. I mean, things like being able to change ISO while you're shooting. Ah! Kid you not, I used to shoot 50 or more weddings in a year once upon a time. Love shooting weddings. And to change ISO, I had to take the film out. So there were 3 camera bodies. loaded with 400 was the general stock. I shot on 400 almost all the time. Sunshine, outside, 400. What happens if we go indoors? What happens if we go in the dark? Yeah, you can put a flash on there, but I don't like flashes. Flashes kill things. Flashes can destroy the mood and the available light. You go into a room and there's all this light. It's all part of the mood and the atmosphere. You whomp a flash into that, you're going to kill it stone dead. So the other regular go-to film stock was Fuji 800. So there's a body loaded with, depending on what the weather was like, 200 or 400, and another body loaded with 800. And so it'd be swapping bodies to change ISO. Sometimes when in extreme situations, and I kid you not, you get a roll of film about halfway through and go, bugger, we're going in there. Right, rewind the film. Take the film out halfway through, stick in a different roll of film and carry on. And then go back outside and then change it again. No thanks, I would not want to go back to the days of film. What is your favourite setting to start with for white balance metering? You have to use block 1 when taking an image, but what is your go-to starting point? Jeremy Waller, good question. So I get what you're saying. By block 1, he means it's the first building block of photography in my 7 building blocks course. You use this, you think about it. My go-to setting is I nearly always shoot everything on a custom white balance Kelvin of 5,600 Kelvin. Never, 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 never. No, that's not true. Almost never, ever, 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 ever use auto white balance. Auto white balance is, I think, dangerous because it changes the color according to the composition. Get your head around that bad boy. If you're filling the frame with me, and you got lots of me with this pinky red shirt, almost a magenta shirt, yeah? What's the opposite colour of magenta? Write it in the feed, somebody. What is the opposite colour of magenta? I'm not going to wait because it's not fair. It's green. The camera on auto white balance will see, let's say I'm really filling the frame like this, it will see all that magenta-y pink and it will go, oh, nothing's that colour. It will start thumping green into it to counteract it. You take away the green and you start pointing it at something that's very blue, like a blue sky, it'll go, whoa, nothing's that blue, and it will start thumping yellow into it to try and get rid of the blue. So starting point, 5,600 Kelvin, that is the colour of average daylight, and everything is consistent. As light changes colour, it means that some shots will change colour. Yeah, you shoot under, I don't know, let's say tungsten light at 5,600 Kelvin, sure, it's all going to be yellow, but it's all going to be the same amount yellow. It's all going to be wrong, but it's all going to be the same wrong. So all you got to do is whack the first shot into Lightroom, you go click and you color correct it, and then you copy that color paste, you just take that color setting straight across all the others, everything's the color you want it to be. Simples. In the days of film, you'd then be using, you know, different filters, 86As and 86Bs and all this sort of stuff, and going, right, I wonder what colour. You could even buy an electronic thing to measure the colour temperature of the light and filter accordingly. No thanks. Susanna Smith, you spoke about the infinity curve. What is it and how is it used? It's just a big swoop. So somebody said they didn't like the picture. I'm going to see if I can find it quickly. I can't find it quickly. The line in the back of the white mug with the lipstick. Someone said they didn't like the line. An infinity curve means it's a swoop. So that when you put something against it and photograph it, you don't get any line. That is why, hang on, I think I can do this. That is why Martin's shot worked. That is why this is clean, seamless white. No lines, there are no joins. It's because he put it into the bath. The bath sides, they don't meet at right angles, do they? I just realised you can't see me. I'm gesticulating and you can't see me, sorry. The bath edges don't meet like this, do they? They swoop, so you don't get a line. That's what an infinity curve is. What else have we got going on here? Have you noticed, sorry, Denise Warren, have you noticed an overall improvement in images from week 1 to now? Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier, Denise, absolutely, hugely. And what's really exciting is looking how you guys are bringing some of the things from earlier weeks into this week, how you brought shadows into mugs. I just think that's super cool. Honestly, I'm not joking. It gives me goosebumps, that. Kirk Storley, if a challenge is set like this for mugs, is it okay to use other things to enhance the image? Kirk, were you here at the beginning? If not, go watch the replay. Listen to what I was saying about confidence at the beginning. Either that or you're just having some fun with me. You just joshing. Annette Vorm, who was your biggest inspiration? Whoa, big question that is. The old documentary photographers. I'm a documentary photographer, so I like weddings. A wedding is an amazing experience. It's like street photography, where you don't have to ask permission and you don't have to worry if anyone's going to get upset with you. It's capturing life and moments and emotion, and having total carte blanche to be allowed to just rush in there and photograph anything you want. And you see an emotion happening. It is like street photography, and therefore the old street photographers are my biggest inspirations. But it's like, I don't know, you're somewhere and you hear someone go, "John, I haven't seen you in years, how are you?" Boom, your brilliant brain is ticking, it's rushing, it's on overdrive. You've heard that, what's going to follow it? A reaction. Something's going to happen. There's going to be a hug, a handshake, a big old snog, I don't know what. Something's going to happen when you hear that intensity in a statement. Boom, where is it? It's over there. Wow, great. They're heading towards each other. What do I do next? I need to be around the other side to shoot this so that they're backlit and we've got a rim light. So you run like hell, setting the camera as you go, and you get around the other side and you go, bam, got it. That's really exciting. It's like street photography. So I guess the biggest influences for me were the old documentary photographers. Several of them are war photographers. George Roger, he was a British Army war photographer who got absolutely disgusted with it, and he said, "I can't do this any longer." Went off and travelled with tribes all through Africa back in the late 1940s. Took some amazing pictures. My all-time hero, I think, as I've said already, is this man, Mr. Sebastião Salgado. His work is breathtaking, stunning and amazing. And also things like this from Van Ho. So they were my biggest, if you like, influences in that realm. But there was also a lovely guy called Colin Fassotti. Billy was his nickname. Had a portrait studio in Southampton. I happened to meet Billy and his colleagues at this place. It was called Park Photographics, and they did weddings and portraits and all that sort of thing. And Billy kind of took me under his wing and took me out on things, took me to weddings, got me carrying the bags. I used to go all the time, used to hang out there all the time, unpaid. Just wanted to be around it, to learn, to figure this stuff out. He was a huge inspiration to me on how you deal with people. He was a good photographer, but I wouldn't say he was the most creative of photographers. He was a good photographer. He was really good with people at weddings and things. Just because he knew how to react with people, he could read people. And I think this is a very important thing in all areas of photography, the decisive moment. It's not just about street photography, there are decisive moments in everything. You go somewhere, you see an amazing scene, a landscape, and you think, wow, and you think about it a bit, you use this thing, think, looks nice from here, but wouldn't it look better if I had, I don't know, just the edge of that old barn in shot, like it was shot from in that barn. Who you are being with people will govern whether or not you get that shot. Are you going to go and bang on the farmer's door and say, "Excuse me, I'd love to take a picture of the sunset over there with the stone walls and the rest of it. Do you mind terribly if I take it from your barn?" That is going to make or break your picture. So I learnt a lot from Billy. Sorry, I'm rabbiting. I must move on faster. Patrick Go. Some kit lenses produce fringing. Is it a must to get rid of? No, it's pixel peeping. Sorry, it just is. You get a bit of fringing on some things, whack it into Lightroom, hit defringe, and it's gone. End of story, generally speaking. It only happens in super high contrast areas and edges. And again, unless you are shooting really super high contrast, you probably won't really be an issue, unless that is something you specialise in and you're going to make them really, really big. No, honestly. MHJH Library, are the monochromatic images more artistic? No, they're just monochromatic. Does it mean they're better? No. Does it mean they're preferable? No. They just are black and white. There really isn't a reason. It's just some things seem to work in black and white and some things don't. And also opinion on that changes. There's my own images to look at and just think, I think that work is a black and white. Oof, get in, that looks amazing. But then maybe a month later I go, no, I do think I preferred it in colour. It's just absence of, it doesn't really matter. Apart from the 18 to 55 lens, sorry, George Gauchi, apart from the 18 to 55 lens, which other lens do you most like? For those of you who maybe haven't been around what I get up to, I shoot almost exclusively on my 18 to 55mm that came with my little Fuji X-T2. Love it. I think I've only used a different lens once in photo lockdown. Go and have a look in the galleries on my website. Or just go below this. Excuse me, when we finished, there's a link to my images. Almost all of them are taken on 18 to 55. I'm putting together stuff for the webinars, and I thought I need to demonstrate this effect when you use a long lens for a focal length webinar, specialising in focal length. I struggled. Boy, did I struggle to find shots I've taken with anything other than the 18 to 55. It's just a great focal length. No, sorry, George. Is there anything I like more than the 1855? Or no, I like my 18 to 55. I just like it. There are times when a longer lens is good. There are times when a wide-angle lens works better. But generally speaking, you can work with whatever you've got. The best camera or the best lens you've got is the one you've got with you. So if you see something and think, oh, I'm too close and I've got my long lens on, well, move further away. You know, it really is that simple. But good question. Silent Cougar, are you a lover of bokeh? Bokeh is the little speckledy things going on in the background when you highlight, spectral highlights. When you have a blurry background. Works in something, doesn't in others. There's not much I can say about that, I'm afraid. I don't get over excited about it. What I get excited about is what sort of feeling or emotion does an image provoke in myself or other people? What do we got here? If you're shooting in RAW, will it make a difference? Ken Powell asked. If shooting in RAW, will it make a difference? No. All digital cameras will shoot in RAW. That's how they work. You go click, the sensor captures the light you have opted to put onto it, you've chosen to put onto it, and then it turns it into a RAW file. A RAW file is not an image file. A RAW file is a data file. It's a recipe. It's just a great big load of data of numbers and squiggles and all sorts of magical pixel fairy computer dust. It's not an image file. If you're shooting RAW in inverted commas, which means you're keeping the RAW and post-processing it yourself, that's all it is. You're keeping the RAW file, you're putting it into something like Lightroom or some other software so that you're in control of how the picture looks. If you're shooting in JPEG or TIFF or whatever, the camera takes that data, that RAW file, and then it turns it into a TIFF or a JPEG. No problems with that. You can do that. And generally speaking, camera makes a pretty good job, but also cameras can't think, just like they think snow is grey, or a coal mine is grey for that matter. The camera can't think, it doesn't understand, and because, as we've seen, you know, our humans and cameras see light completely differently. Look at, where is it, this shot here. When you were sitting there, Richard, you could see detail in the sky and in the cups. The camera cannot do it. This is another reason where RAW can come in really, really handy. So, for example, you could shoot this, you could bracket that exposure. You could just whack the camera onto burst mode, tell it to bracket a couple of stops apart. It'll go like that. boom, 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 so fast you don't need a tripod anymore. When you're bracketing, you don't need a tripod. You just, it's done it. 3 frames, quicker than you can move. And you put them into Lightroom, and then Lightroom will take all these things and it will bring them together. These are the advantages of RAW. I'm not saying they're right or anything else. You can control how your images look through the camera, through the pitch control settings in the camera. When you choose landscape mode or portrait mode or something like that in the menus, in the pitch control, you are choosing a set of pre-programmed algorithms or ideas to make the picture more contrasty or less contrasty or more bright. You can go into the custom one. If you've got a really bright, sunny, contrasty day, you can go into your pitch control settings and say to the camera, make this less contrasty because I know you're going to mess it up. RAW isn't better. You've still got to get it right in camera. RAW files and post-production are not a place to fix things that went wrong. It's a place to just tidy and polish and put your own personal stamp on things that went absolutely right. You've still got to get the light right. You've still got to get the composition right. You've still got to get the decisive moment right. You've still got to get your focal length and where you focus and when you click, all that. That's you. You've got to get that right. When you get that right, you've got a great RAW file. Just like in the old days, if you had a bad negative, you couldn't get a great print out of it. If you got a bad RAW file, you can't get a great print. When you see things, by the way, online with people going from this to this, like there was something wrong, no, that dull one, the starting one, that's just what a RAW file looks like before it has anything done to it, okay? That's what it is. What's the time? Okay. Wow. Okay, we're going to have to call an end to this. I'm so sorry, guys. You have been completely awesome. It's 9 o'clock, heading for 9 o'clock. Oh no, we got, okay, let's do a couple more. You guys are completely awesome. I've so enjoyed doing this one. I've enjoyed all of them. Robin Punter, can you ever switch off from being a photographer when you go on holiday? Can you just be a tourist and enjoy the location for what it is and just snap away without thinking too much about photography? Confession to make, Robin, don't take a camera on holiday with me. I really don't. Sometimes people say, oh, what, you rode all down, my sister and I rode all down through the Ardèche on our motorbikes. And we said, oh, it's so beautiful there. And it is, the mountains and the hills, and fabulous. Didn't take any pictures on holiday. Reason being, yeah, I might take a couple of pictures of my sister and her husband and, you know, silly selfie. Hey, look, there's our bikes down there outside a cool looking little French bar with a bunch of Harley riding lunatics or something. But no, I don't do photography on holiday. Because to me, doing photography is all this stuff we've just been talking about. You see, down in the Ardèche, remember coming into Puy-en-Val, I think the name of the town is, you come down, it's almost like Buenos Aires, there's all these rock pinnacles with castles built on the top that are all crumbling and falling apart, and you think, how on earth did they get out there to build that? There's a big crucifix statue over the city as you come through the mountains down into town. And, you know, just thought, that's amazing. And you're right, there was an element going, wow, I'd love to photograph that. How would I photograph it? And then it was immediately dismissed. What does it mean to photograph it? It doesn't mean get off your bike and get the phone out, because what am I going to do with it? I'll just delete it. I'll never look at it. It's pointless. If I'm going to photograph that, it means doing research to find out what the weather's going to do, so that we're going to have a bit of mist coming over the top of the town at sunrise or something, finding what angle to be at so the light's coming from behind it. Sorry, that's just what's happened. I have to confess, just snapping, it's gone. Photography it was like that once, but then I got bored with just having snaps as photos. So it drive anyone like my sister and everyone else completely mad. So no, I do switch off. Just go and lay on a beach, switch off. Don't even think about it. Alessandro Pellegrini, are you saying that it is better to set white balance at 5600 rather than auto if you rely on correcting later or in post? Are you saying that is better to set white balance at 56K rather than auto if you rely on correcting later on in post-production? Yes. For the reasons I said just now. If you shoot everything at 56K, it might be wrong, but it will all be the same wrong. If you shoot it in auto and your composition has got a whole load of red roses in it, auto sees all the red and puts in a bit of green. You just change that composition to include a bit more blue of somebody's dress standing next to the roses, it'll change the white balance. That means you've got to color correct every single one. If you do it all at 5/6K, they might all be wrong, but they're all the same wrong. So you only have to correct once and copy that white balance across everything. Job done. I hope I made that clear. So go have a look at my Lightroom courses. If you want to find out more about this stuff, I've got 7 Steps to Workflow Mastery, which is about organizing Lightroom. It's a monster. It'll do a huge amount of work for you. You'd be amazed what you can do with that. But you've got to manage your catalogs, manage your images. Anyone who's using Lightroom and you see things saying image missing, isn't it annoying? It's because you moved something. It's not Lightroom's job to know where things are. Nothing is in Lightroom. It's on your computer. Lightroom just remembers where it is. And there's also 7 Steps to Perfect Pictures, which is about the thought process of post-production. How do you want this to look? How are you going to achieve it? Don't just whack sliders around. That usually looks overcooked. A few little gentle, subtle changes, usually local changes with a brush or something like that. Just a little bit of gentle, painterly work makes a big difference. Mickey Stein, what photo do you like most that you have taken? Sorry, Mickey, it changes all the time. I have a current favourite. But it's the current favourite, that's all I can say. I've got a few that were taken in Morocco. You see already, it's going off at a tangent. Sorry, it will change all the time. My favourite photo is the one I'm going to take tomorrow. Jan Roberts, are all 18 to 55 lenses wide angle? I'm doing it, I've just finished putting together a seminar. You must come on, Jan. It explains all of this. 18 to 55 is 18 to 55. It's 18 is wide-ish and 55 is kind of mid-range-ish. Sorry, there is no clear definitive answer. Photography's like that. There's masses of things that have kind of got very, very blurred boundaries. And if you've got an 18mm lens on a full-frame camera, it's incredibly wide. If you've got it on a crop sensor camera, APS-C like my Fuji, then it's kind of wide. If you've got it on a micro 4/3 camera, then it's actually more mid-range. It's all moving and fluid. The only way you learn these things is to practice. Please, 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 as soon as we get the focal length webinar up and running, I've spent an entire week making graphics and things to explain it. But also, go have a look at the Ultimate Beginner's course. Really, guys, I know I'm pushing these things, yeah, because I want you to learn. I know that I can help you. I'm not making this up. Of course I want to earn some money. That's how I make a living. Get it. Times are tough now. Get it. I know it more than most. Really, I do. Our business is struggling like crazy, just like everyone else's. But I know these things will help you. 69 quid. What's that? Dinner for 2 in a restaurant and a bottle of wine? That's all it's competing against. Not only that, if it doesn't make a difference for you, I'm going to give you your money back. So just do it. Just do it. Really, I promise it. I promise you. Just do it. And it explains a huge amount about what you were asking, Jan. Janet Cooper, which of your images have you printed and hung on your wall? Several over time. What I'll do, hopefully tomorrow, I will stick in the group. There are 3 pictures. There's the one I've got on the wall, which was taken on a workshop we ran in Myanmar, Burma. I love that place. It was it's the #1 place for me. It's like, you know, you go somewhere and you come back and you just think, wow, it was my wow place. I got more images out of that than anywhere else. It was kind of like I went there and just like, they're the best set of pictures I've ever taken as a collective thing over 10 days. Yeah, completely awesome. I've just had a message from Emma saying, time to wrap it up, boss. She's right, because our automated system is about to send all of you guys who've given me your email address, it's about to send you an email saying the post has just gone live for next week's challenge. So you might get that and click it and there won't be anything there yet. So That's my fault. Just give me 10 minutes. What I'm going to say is thank you very much indeed for being here. Which is the best beginner's course? Laurie Lee said that. Well, mine, the ultimate beginner's course. Just go and get it. Laurie, just go get it. Mine. You heard what I said. I'll give you money back. Thank you, Mike. Emmeline, another lovely Sunday session. Thank you, guys. Thank you, all of you. It really is time for me to go, and it's time for Emma to go back to her husband and kids and have a Sunday evening. We'll put out the challenge very, very shortly in the next 10 minutes or so. Meanwhile, I wish you well, and thank you very, very much for being here. Take care, and I will see you very soon.